Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here, and oh boy, Mercenaries is getting changes in the balance patch. Who would have guessed that usually doesn't happen, but now it does. So overall there are 8 buffs coming to Mercenaries. So the Mercenaries team is still sticking to their concept of they want to buff these Mercenaries instead of nerfing them, so no Trigor nerfs. And typically the balance changes are more directed at PvP side of the game instead of PvE, which I specialize in, but there are some implications for PvE typically as well, like for example the Tyrande buff that we got actually made Tyrande a viable character in some PvE comps as well, even though before Tyrande was totally useless. So let's take a look at the 8 buffs that are coming to Hearthstone Mercenaries, and they're coming today. Wow. So, first of all, Alexstrasza. Dragon Queen's Gambit, deal damage to an enemy equal to their attack, is going to be buffed. Cooldown is going to be reduced from 2 to 1. And obviously, for everyone who is doing Alexstrasza's tasks and has to do tasks using Dragon Queen's Gambit, being able to use it every other turn is going to be a big relief. So, okay, yay. And then we have the Lich King. With Death Coil, deal 18 damage to an enemy or restore 30 health to a friendly character, buff cooldown from 1 to 0. So Death Coil is now usable on the first turn, and Death Coil is usable every single turn. So Lich King becomes quite a healing battery, and Lich King also has more abilities now to deal damage by other means than simply attacking if it wants to. For example, in Sunken City in the Naga encounter, when there's those green Nagas that increase damage to everyone who is attacked, this means that now Lich King has something interesting to do on turn 1 in those encounters, instead of just going in and dying. And then a Yulon buff. Dragons are already pretty sweet in PvE, and Yulon Jade Flame Buffet. Block Taunt and Stealth on all other characters for 2 turns, give your characters plus 10 health. Buff cooldown from 1 to 0. So now you can actually use Yulon to block Taunt, so that you can open up space for Nefarian and Sinestra to attack. There are currently some boss fights where you want to use Onyxia instead of Yulon, so Onyxia is clearing up that way, getting rid of the taunt and enabling Nefarian and Sinestra to do their thing. And now you can actually do that with the budget comp, because you can use Yulon to block the taunt and open up that space, so very interesting buff for budget dragons. And then Tide Mistress Atissa, a new Naga immediately getting buffed, getting 2 buffs. For Riptide, that deals damage to an enemy after an enemy attacks this turn, repeat this damage, and for Wave Crush, if the enemy has already acted, give them nature weakness. So Riptide cooldown is going from 1 to 0, Riptide usable on turn 1. Again, those green Nagas that attack and also deal damage to everyone who has attacked. Yeah, you have more stuff that you can do against them with a Naga comp, because you can use Atissa and turn 1 Riptide on them, so it'll be interesting to see how this affects PvE Naga comps. And then Wave Crush speed from 7 to 6. Actually means that especially in PvE there will be fewer toxins that will get that nature weakness, but okay. Then we have good old Rexxar. Rexxar hasn't seen much play for a long time. There used to be this Rexxar King Mukla King Crush comp, but it just kind of wasn't good enough anymore with all the new mercs coming. But now Rexxar is going to get a 10 health, max health buff. Alright, so Rexxar a bit more healthy, a little bit added survivability, we'll see if that affects anything. And Shuen is also getting a buff to Equalizing Strike. Choose an enemy, set this merc's attack to 5 higher than the target and attack them. And speed is going from 7 to 5. So we'll be able to kill big targets with Shuen at a little bit faster speed. And then a pretty big buff to Captain Hook task, one of the new pirates, Cutthroat Negotiations. Change a merc's role to Protector. Apply bleed 6 to them, swaps to caster after use. And buff is it's going from speed 7 to speed 2. So this means that you can set somebody to Protector if you have a team that consists mostly of casters, and now that that's going to happen at speed 2, that means that your other casters are going to be able to shoot after that happens. Whereas with speed 7 it was very hard to combo this with anything. That's an interesting change with some potential uses. Also, because it's so fast, that means that you can also use this defensively, turn something into a protector instead of a fighter, for example, so that they can't hurt your casters as much. And finally, we have Uther, Blessing of Protection, restore 14 health to a friendly character and give them taunt this turn, buffed speed from 3 to 1. So Uther now has a 1 speed taunt that Uther can give either to himself or to another friendly character. I'm not sure if this is going to make Uther playable in PvE, but okay, that's sort of buff. So overall, 8 mercenaries getting buffed, obviously mainly targeting the PvP side, but also with some implications to the PvE side, and The Mercenaries balance philosophy remains unchanged. No nerfs, buffs instead. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.